What kind of conversations are you preparing for here in the district while you're here?
Sure. Well, great to be here with you. So first off, we're here for the conference, which is kind of the kickoff to my couple-day visit here. But I think it's really twofold. When we come to DC, there's lawmakers, Congress, and regulators as well. This trip is probably a little bit more weighted towards meeting with various different people in Congress, lawmakers. There are a couple significant bills in progress right now that we're generally supportive of, and so we're kind of looking to engage with lawmakers on those bills.
Are there changes you'd like to see in those pieces of legislation?
I mean, structurally, they've sought our input. We've worked closely with them, and so they're kind of like directionally there. There are more details to continue to be worked out. So I think it's more in the specificity that isn't quite there yet. But yeah, we're very much actively involved with them.
Well, and of course, we're all waiting to see what the outcome ultimately is, if these bills can actually pass both chambers of Congress. In the meantime, until perhaps there is more legislative clarity, I'd like to talk just about Kraken's business, how things are going. What does volume look like right now?
Well, it's a great question. It's always an up-to-the-minute question in our industry.
So what does volume look like last you checked?
Last we checked, frankly, the past month, there's been a lot of activity. For what it's worth, the Bitcoin price is up. There's a lot of energy. I think around the new potential approval of the ETF is generating some, kind of like headlines and interest in the space. And so, again, Bitcoin price is up. There is a decent amount of activity. So we've seen a lot of new clients. Pretty much had our strongest kind of month period the past 30 days that we've seen in well over a year.
So if things are looking good, would now be getting closer to a time where Kraken might consider going public? I know this is something Jesse Powell used to talk about a lot.
Yeah. With regard to going public, we obviously can't go into any kind of specificity on this particular question, but we're clearly always evaluating capital markets, private and public, and the like.
Are you having active conversations around it?
Again, we can't really go into any more detail on specificity around fundraising, whether private or public.
Okay, fair enough. So even if it's not through an initial public offering, is fundraising something Kraken's going to need to do in the near term?
Like I said, private and public are both kind of avenues out there for Kraken.
Okay, fair enough. Yep. As we look potentially to other things that are in Kraken's future, Bloomberg has reported you're going to be looking in 2024 at actually launching trading of US-listed stocks. What's the aim there? How are you going to compete with a Robinhood?
Yeah, we of course caught that article out there. We didn't. This isn't something that we've, announced, broadly foray into that product or frankly several others. We, kind of generally have a lot of different things on the roadmap with regard to bringing more education for consumers, moving more deeply into institutions as well, in addition to kind of our core, which is, individual professional traders as our client base. And so whether that's bringing more different tradable, investable assets, more education, or more innovative offerings in crypto, they're, really all out there as far as interesting things on our roadmap.
So how do you think your revenue source composition may look different heading into 2024 and beyond?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So, from a geographic perspective, we really have a set of core markets. So it's Europe, UK, Canada, US, and Australia. Our core markets, we have presence. We support the fiat domestic currency on the ground, teams in those various different markets. And so for us moving forward, it's frankly a lot more investment in those existing core markets. As far as the various different client segments out there, we really started with one of the strongest platforms for, individual professional traders, kind of that more advanced group. But more recently, we've, over the past few years, moved more towards kind of, consumer and retail, and in the other direction towards serving institutions. We have a great new custody offering coming out soon for institutions. So it really is going to be, kind of focusing on these core geographies and then also expanding, and building more for, a breadth of different customer types.
What would you say that split is right now between retail and institutional users and customers?
Yeah, we don't disclose the specificity on this, but there is a good balance, as you might expect. The institutional are more volume heavy, whereas when we look at numbers from a number standpoint, number of clients, of course, the individuals and consumer retail is obviously the vast majority on that. that metric.
I want to go back to something you alluded to earlier in terms of what's been happening in pricing. A lot of it is optimism around a Bitcoin ETF, maybe, possibly, eventually being approved by the SEC here in the US. What would that mean for Kraken? What do you think the direct translation would be? Okay, something gets approval or many of these filings ultimately get approved. What happens to your business that next day and beyond?
Well, you know, I mean, just on like whether this gets approved, first of all, it will get approved. It's just a question of time, right? You know, so whether that's in the very near future or somewhere down the road, we know this because countries across the globe have ETFs and similar ETPs products approved. Even in the U.S., we have an ETF already approved. It happens to be backed by derivatives and futures and on a synthetic basis. This new ETF or these new ETFs that are being proposed out there backed by actual Bitcoin are just better for customers. So it's pretty obvious that it'll get approved at some point in time. The fact that it hasn't is a bit of a mystery so far, given it's actually a better for customers, and that's, you know, should be one of the goals of these approvals is to bring value and you know, investable options for customers. So we think it will be. But what's the impact on Kraken? You know, we are supportive of frankly, almost all of the different steps to bring Bitcoin and cryptocurrency access to individuals. Our mission is to grow adoption of cryptocurrency. So number one, we are entirely supportive of all of these. We think it fulfills our mission, it grows the overall ecosystem, and those things, you know, whether direct or indirect, are going to have benefits for Kraken. It just so happens that we, one of our businesses that we run, CF Benchmarks, is the indice benchmark provider for all of these different products out there. So not all, but most of the ETFs that have applications in, they are customers of Kraken and our CF Benchmarks business. And so there's, you know, a direct tie into our business there, and we're, you know, happy to be supportive of these new products.
And on the subject of your business and in pursuit of that mission you were just describing, what is Kraken planning in terms of staffing? Do you need to bulk up in anticipation of potentially this? Do you need to lean out because it's very unclear what is coming in terms of the overall economic situation? What exactly do your plans look like?
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting. We do need to be nimble from a you know, from the standpoint of how we scale our business. We're always thinking about scalability because there are these cycles in crypto, and there have been. And so we're always thinking about what our path is to, you know, scale the platform, scale a given operational part of the business. When we think about our platform and technology standpoint, I know this isn't the original question, but we think about, hey, can this platform handle 5x, 10x, and beyond? Because we know these increases in growth. And just the same from an operational standpoint, we say, hey, where can this particular, whether it's client support or compliance or what have you, are they prepared to handle 5x overnight? Are they prepared to handle, you know, 10x within 3 months notice? And so this is part of our kind of our core platform approach and business process to doing these things. So yeah, it is definitely top of mind. So
what does that mean though in terms of staffing? Do you think Kraken will have a larger employee base a year from now or a smaller one?
Well, I mean, you know, right now, again, we're kind of built to, you know, closely monitor the market and these changes. We do expect, you know, there will be growth in the crypto markets, you know, within the not too distant future. Call it a handful of years. And so if you give me that amount of time frame, I think the answer is will certainly be larger if, you know, we look at a time frame like that.